Joel Symmank has been a DC for about 26 years. He was in Topeka, Kansas, Olathe, Kansas, and now at Woodbury Lutheran. Currently, he is in charge of educational programming and does worship leading as well. His wife, Rachel, teaches kindergarten at TLO, Trinity Lone Oak. And they have twin sons, Ethan and Micah, and another son, Luke, at Concordia Academy in Roseville. We happen to have kids at the very same age bracket, so it's been fun. He's also in my small group at our church. We've gotten to be good friends. That's fantastic. Joel enjoys cooking and outdoor activities, especially watering through the boundary waters. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. Here to talk about making the catechism come alive, Joel Symmank.
Thanks and good morning. That's right. Okay, here we go. There we go. There's the new one. Thanks and good morning. Much and more has been said and written and thought about this idea of making the catechism come alive over the years, and so I won't even pretend to offer a definitive set of ideas about this, but some that have been rolling around in my head and that have applied well to my context. The trick always with making the catechism come alive, I think, is for us to work to do that within the context that God has placed us, with the people that God has placed us at the time that God has placed us, which is to say any ideas here have to be taken home and translated to where they would work and fit in your place. But when Joel gave me this topic and this idea, it reminded me immediately of a little passage from a little book that I swiped off my dad's bookshelf a number of years ago. He's a retired LCMS pastor, and this is the Minister's Prayer book that he bought back at the seminary bookstore, he noted, in 1961 for $3.10. It's a passage, a few sentences from a broader or bigger passage written by Friedrich von Bodelschwing, who was a Lutheran pastor in Germany. I'll take that back. I don't know that he was Lutheran. He was a pastor in Germany back in the early part of the 20th century. And he says this, speaking to other pastors, "I trust that we give them, our congregation, faithful and stout instruction, but surely much of what we say to them will be forgotten. Much would be gained if they simply took with them this impression. A young man, or an old man, he says, stood up before us, and what he told us we did not always understand. But there must be something wonderfully lovely about the gospel if a person can talk about it so joyfully." And there is something wonderfully lovely about the gospel, isn't there? That sweet sound that God has given us. And so I think one piece of making the catechism come alive might be as simple as speaking it, teaching it, talking about it with great joy, right? We've all had that teacher or our education who engaged us in such a way that just drew us into his teaching or her teaching on that topic because they had so much joy for the information, but also joy for the students that were in front of them. And so idea number one for me is this: do a heart check. And where is the joy for you when it comes to your confirmation students? And I'm going to speak mostly in the context of a traditional confirmation classroom of middle schoolers, but you can apply this to anybody with whom you're working. What I don't want you to do is do a heart check on your joy about the catechism and the material there, because we love that. It's who we are as Lutherans down to kind of our molecular level, right? But I want you to think about, how much joy do I have? What joy do I have in teaching these students who God has placed right in front of me? Because they know if we're joyful about it or not. And we'll draw them in or push them away based on what we communicate that way. If you don't find joy there with middle school students, and it's not everybody's bag, right? It's also teaching is not everybody's gift necessarily, right? So idea number two would be this: equip someone else in your congregation. You have people there who love middle school students. They're out there, it's true. I get to work with one. I'm the father of one. These people who have a deep heart and commitment to the middle schooler. And also you have people in your congregation who are gifted teachers. And if you've ever seen one in action, you know just how beautiful of a thing that is. So equip someone and find joy in turning them loose to use their gifts to serve God and His church in that way, and let them do what God has gifted them to do. Idea number 3 comes with a story about a young man that Tom and I had some interaction with back a few years ago. We were doing a confirmation overnight experience for our 9th graders right before they were to confirm their faith. Tom was leading the overnighter, and I was there to do some group building. And when I came in and we got started, I looked up, and there is Luke sitting there, who is a 7th grader. And I said, "Luke, what are you doing here? You're not a 9th grader. This is for 9th graders. Why are you here?" And he looked at me with that sort of honest, bewildered 7th grade face and said, "I don't know what I'm doing here. My mom told me I was supposed to come, and so I'm here." And it was all good, and we made a good joke out of it over the rest of his confirmation time. But the point is this: there are Lukes all over the place in our confirmation classes, right, who have no idea what they're doing there. Everything was going great, and then all of a sudden their parents told them, or grandma told them, or somebody told them, "You have to start going to church on Wednesday nights now," and they don't get it, and they're not ready for it, and they're not prepared to even receive all that important information that we're giving them. So idea number 3 I think I'm up to is this: let's be brave and courageous and take a step to change confirmation to an opt-in possibility. Not every 16-year-old is ready to drive a car. Not every 12-year-old is ready to step into confirmation. They're not intellectually prepared, emotionally prepared, spiritually prepared. They're not coming from the place where this is for them at this moment. And so let's trust that the Holy Spirit will do the work that only He can do, that He'll move in the hearts of His people when He's ready, when they're ready, and we'll push them into stepping into this step when they're ready for it. For which Luke do you think the catechism will be more alive? The Luke who says, "I don't know what I'm doing here," or the Luke who says, "I want this, I've chosen this, I've thought about it, prayed about it, talked to my pastor, my parents, my small group leader about it, and I'm in," right? It's that one. That's the one who will be more excited about it. And let's help our students and our families by providing them with a list of readiness indicators so that they know what to look for in helping their student take that next step. My wife, who teaches kindergarten now, for years was a parent educator. She worked with parents of children who were ages birth through 3. And one of the things that came up, one of the topics that came up in her work with them was potty training, right? And so there were 3 readiness indicators that she would give them. Watch for these things so you know when your child is ready to start their potty training or toilet learning or whatever we call it now, right? First one is, can they make it through an entire nap without an accident? Second, can they follow multi-step instructions? Go into the bathroom, lift the lid, pull down, right? Multi-step. And third, do they have just the manual dexterity to be able to do all the unsnapping and unzipping and fastening and refastening and pulling up and down that's necessary? If you observe those things in your child, then they're ready for potty training. So let's come up with a list, and we could do it now in probably 10 minutes. I don't have 10 minutes left, but we could do it now in just a few minutes to provide our parents of a list of things. Look for these things in your student. When they exhibit this kind of thing, when they're asking these questions, when their prayers include these things, when they're talking about this at the dinner table, then you know your child might be ready to consider this step into confirmation. This not only gives parents something to look for, but it's also a way for us to communicate to them, these are the important things that should be going on in your home. These are the things you should be talking about with your sons and daughters. They don't naturally know those things. We need to help with that. Tom touched on this, but let's keep in mind that much like potty training, the goal of all of our discipleship efforts is to prepare our people, our students, whomever, to be able to do this on their own without us, right? To be able to walk the walk and follow Jesus without us always walking next to him and helping them. And so let's take teaching the catechism and place it within where it belongs, within a broader approach to Christian education. And let's take Christian education and place that in a broader approach, like Tom mentioned, to overall discipleship. And let's understand that each helps the other, but one is not the end-all, be-all. The catechism does not give us everything that we need as disciples. There's a broader approach to take. Let's create a pathway of next steps so that our people know when they're ready to move and move forward. And let's place catechism right on that pathway so that they can see that it's coming, and so that as soon as it's over, they know what to do next, so they don't disengage and walk away from us, but take that next step into whatever might be ahead for them. Finally, there's a blogger and a consultant that I read his stuff once in a while, Tony Morgan, I think, is the one who says this. His line is, churches are perfectly structured to get the results that we're getting. Right? There are a multitude of factors involved with whether or not a person allows the catechism and its contents to come alive for them, and we can only affect a few of those factors. So let's work hard and look at and analyze the ones that we have control over, and let's take the step to change those if necessary. Thanks.